What's up, guys, and welcome to KLWP for Beginners. This is Headphones Neil with my tutorial on creating stack groups and overlap groups. So, as you can see on my current home screen, I have a weather widget and a media player widget, which once we go through some of the initial objects and how to use them, we'll get into creating those because it's a series of reaction items, embedded objects, and things like that. So using stack groups and overlap groups together. But in this tutorial, I wanted to share how to create the individual elements to begin with. So in KLWP, I'm going to go ahead and edit this time instead of creating a new one. And we're going to first start with a simple item of a stack group where let's say you want to create your own app launcher or like a dock kind of thing where you have a set of icons that load apps and things like that and various other items, which I'll show you that what you can do with those objects. But to start off, we're going to create a simple stack group to easily organize your items. So as you can see down here on the bottom right, there's an object called stack group. So we're going to create that, or we're going to select that. And much like the prior tutorials, we're going to change the position to center. Now, one of the first things I do is when I'm creating a stack group is what kind of order do I want it to be? So when you click on layer, you're going to see the stacking option. So when you click on that, you have a couple of different options. So you have vertical and horizontal, and then you have left, center, and right. So do you want your stackable objects to be vertically aligned or horizontally aligned? And then do you want it to be top, middle, center, or left, middle, right, depending on the order that you want to organize them in? For this one, we'll just pick something as simple as horizontal center. So this will organize everything in a straight line. And then the other thing we're going to do on this tab is set the margin. So as you can see right now, it's set to 0, but let's say we want a little bit of spacing between our objects that we add to the stack group. So let's create something as simple as 40, so that'll give us a little bit of extra padding. We may not necessarily use it all, but also once you create your objects, let's say you end up having more objects than you thought you would, we can always reduce the margin down to something else. So the default spacing is by 20s, but you can have it set to, 24 or something like that if you want. Like, it's not set that you have to do it by 20s, you can adjust accordingly. So 40 for now. So now when we go into our items list, we need to actually add some items to the stack group so we can see what it's going to look like. So let's click on the plus sign, and in this case, let's create some icons for our dock. So let's click on font icon, and we're gonna go into that, and you're gonna see that there's a default set selected called material. So within the app, you have 4 different groupings of app tiles. So material is the default set of icons, but we have Intripto, which are like shapes and general like arrows and generic stuff that you can icons that you can pick. We also have font awesome, which is even more generic, even fewer default or known icons, but some more here if you want. And then you have Mateo, which is weather icon. So if you want a specific icon that is always set or based on weather conditions, you can do that as well. So going back to material, let's look for something that we want to pick. So first thing that stands out at me is alarm. So let's say I want to create a shortcut to my clock app. So we pick the icon, and then we have the size, so we can adjust the size as well here. So, as little as 1 and, as big as to fit the screen. So what we'll do here, I'll set it to default as 100 right now. And we can adjust the color as well, do a manual color picker, or if we wanted to match to our wallpaper, like I extract a vibrant color, much like a couple of the other videos, we'll switch to formula mode. And we're gonna go down into bitmap palette, and let's say vibrant color. I already have the wallpaper you see in my wallpaper selected as a global variable. So I'm going to have it pulled from that, close it out, and so now we have the color automatically picked from the wallpaper so it blends in nicely. And then when we go to touch, this is where we can set our action item. So what do we want to happen when we touch the icon? So we'll click on the plus sign. It defaults to none, meaning we got to pick something. So we'll click on that. And so action. What happens when we touch the alarm? What do we want to do? So we can have custom action, launch an app, shortcut activity, music controls as well, open a link. So if you want to set a link to a website that you always go to, then you can do that, change the volume, things like that. So in this case, I wanted to launch an app. So now we got to pick the app. So we'll click on that and we'll click on clock. So we're pretty much done. When we save this icon will show up on our home screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust the position a little bit, and I'm going to move it up a little bit so it stands out in the red on the purple. Now, the other thing we can do is rename this. So let's say you're going to have a few different icons and you want to keep track of what each one is for without actually having to go into each one. We'll select the item and click on the pencil and rename it. So I'll say clock. So I know that it's going to open my clock app. Now let's say I want to maintain consistency in the icon style, the size, and I know I'm going to be selecting a bunch of different apps. So we can also select this and copy it. And then let's say I'm going to let's do this 2 more times. So I can show you the shortcut options and a couple other things, but let's paste this 2 more times. So now we can see the spacing as well. So when you go to layer, we can reduce this down to 0. It gets super close. We can increase it and we can make it bigger. So even if we wanted the default margin to be 100, like the Android 2 dock that had 3 icons, we can do stuff like that. So I'm going to rename this second thing to Chrome widget, because I want to open my Chrome bookmarks widget when I touch the icon. So we're going to touch that. We're going to touch alarm. We're going to look for an icon that best represents the Chrome icon. And because this is something I already know from previously browsing through all these icons, I know that at some point there's a Earth flat looking globe icon that I can pick. But I also wanted to scroll down through all of these different icons so you can see that there's a lot of different stuff we can pick. I'm going to pick this icon. I'm going to go over to touch. I'm going to pick, instead of launch app, I'm going to change it to launch shortcut, because I have a app called pop-up widget that lets me create a widget tied to an icon rather than putting the widget on the home screen. And so I'm going to go to that. I'm going to pick pop-up widget, and I already have my widget set up for Chrome bookmarks. So if you want to do something like that with or without KLWP, you can do that already. So we've done that. And so now for the final one, let's say I want to open a website. I want to go to, let's see, what's a good website that we can go to? Let's say I want to go to Twitter. So I'm going to call this icon Twitter, or if you want to call it X, I'm in the habit of still saying Twitter. And so let's pick our icon. There may be a Twitter icon in one of these other groups, so let's see if I can find it easily. If not, I'll just pick another random one and move on. But let's see down here if it stands out. Nothing stands out to me, so let's use the Tumblr icon. Yeah, let's just use this Tumblr icon as a placeholder. So now we'll go over to touch. We're going to change it from launch app to open link. And it changes into our URL field, so it's going to automatically detect that when we type in twitter.com, that it's going to open your default browser and take us to Twitter. So now let's exit out. We're going to save this. So Now you see that the icon showed up. When I click on the alarm icon, it opens my alarm. When I click on the Chrome bookmark thing, it opens my widget to open my widget. So pretty nifty there. And for my Twitter icon, same thing. It's gonna load up Twitter. So pretty simple thing to do to create a stack group to organize your apps or even shortcuts, whatever you want to create from in the stack group. So even if it's something like the weather widget, like the forecast, that's a setup of stack group. Same thing with my currently playing media players. Um, Track info, that's a stack group. So there's a lot of different things you can do. So whether it's icons, a text group, or any other element that you want to put in here, whether it's a shape, image, progress bar, things like that, you can use stack groups to easily organize your um, whatever you want to organize. So let's delete this, and now we're going to create an overlap group. So let's say you want to create your own um, icon with a background, or let's say you just want to create a monochrome style icon. And I say monochrome because we will get into setting formulas with a color picker based on music playback and all that. But for the course of this, or for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to create an overlap group that is basically an icon with a background. So let's say you created that icon like I did, but it kind of blends in a little bit too much, but you still wanted to have a certain accent to match your wallpaper. That's when an overlap group comes into play. So what we're going to do once we create that overlap group, let's create a shape, and we'll bump the shape up to 100 for visibility, or we can, because we're doing one, we're gonna, let's say, let's bump it up to 300. You can pick your usual shapes of whatever you want. So let's just do something as simple as a circle. And let's change the background to something a little that'll make the icon a little bit more visible. So let's just make it solid black. Now we're going to go back to our item list for the overlap group, and let's pick a icon again. So let's do we can do a slightly different icon, or we can do the same one. So let's see. Let's say we want to do yeah, we'll keep the same thing. Let's say we just want another a clock icon, and we're gonna bump up the size, and you can see how it's gonna fit in your shape as you increase it with the red squares. So if we do 300, it might look a little bit oversized for the icon, but we can adjust it accordingly so it fits properly based on the borders of the icon. So it looks like 160 fits okay. 140 is a little bit better depending on how you want to look at it. And let's do the same thing as before, where we're going to change the color to pull the vibrant color from our wallpaper. So we still get that theming, but we have the black background. And I'm using my global variable just for simplicity. But you can pull the colors from there, and then we can now from here, if you want to still set your you can still set your touch action to the font icon, or you can set it to the overlap group entirely. This is beneficial because, like with your stack group, let's say you have a stack group of a bunch of text like my media player, and you want a certain action to happen regardless of which text you touch, you can set it to the whole stack group instead of just a single item, or you can set it to individual items if you want, but both are good options. So let's do that, and launch app and clock. So now we'll exit out, save this icon, and it did not pull in my colors. So let's see what's going on. So let's go into font icon, paint. That is awfully strange that it didn't do that. So let's see. Oh, I think I know why, because I just needed to do that. So I had an extra condition I didn't need to put in. So let's adjust the circle shape down a little bit. It's kind of big. So from there, we're all set. So we now have an icon that's still red that pulls from our wallpaper, but we have a background. So we can even move the icon to a different place. Like let's say I do want my stack group to be down here, like closer to the bottom of my screen, but the red icon is going to blend in with the red background. Then we can stick a background behind the icon like we just did and have it stand out and still show as an icon that we want to use. And we can adjust the shape accordingly as well. So if you want it to be a more squircle style where it's a square and we want rounded corners, we can do that as well. So it stands out if you like that shape better a little bit as well. If you prefer hexagon, you can do that, and let's set our corners down to 0, and you can adjust accordingly. So depending on the themes that you want to create, that these are all options that you can do, and the overlap group is a good way to set that all up where you keep a certain order, you have a image behind it. So just like the media player that and the weather widget that I have set up, I have those backgrounds so that those elements stand out against the wallpaper, but still pull the color from the wallpaper image I have, so that way it's themed well and matches, and then it also updates the color when music is playing to the currently playing music's cover image. So that's all there is for this particular tutorial. So go ahead and practice it, give it a shot, see what you can do. As always, if you have a question, want me to try something, or want me to show you how to do a certain thing in a certain way, if I can help create it for you, then definitely leave a comment on the video and I will see if I can help create a quick tutorial for what you're trying to do. And as always, the link will be in the show notes for the playlist for all the tutorials, so you have quick access to all the different tutorials that I put out. But that's all there is for this particular tutorial. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.